Have you found yourself wondering, is there something more? If so, then you, my friend, are a dreamer in waiting. I'd like to welcome you to the Dream On podcast. I'm Julia Gentry, and along with my husband, Travis Gentry, we discuss real, raw, and not small talk conversations about faith, family, entrepreneurship, and all the things that matter most in this life in order to help people bridge the gap between what they currently have and what they really want most. Join us as we give you insights, tools, and strategy to chase every dream that's on the inside of you. But be forewarned, this podcast is not for the faint of heart, but rather those of heart. This is the Dream On podcast.
We are live, episode 4.
4.
Let's do this.
Do you think we're going to remember when it's
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, going up to
59,
1,000.
1,000 and I forget. Like it's
I
like
bet
age.
I bet we will probably stop saying, but it's kind of...
It's still that fun.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Because someone asked me the other day, how old are you? Which you don't normally ask, but we're at the park. I made a play date, right, with a new friend. And so we asked each other how old we were, which is funny because I hear Malachi say, hey, how old are you? Like that's before their name, before where do you live? How old are you? So she asked me and I was like 30. She looked at me, I was like, does it...
Somewhere in the low 30s. But don't you think it's like with the kids, because her kids are a certain age and our kids are a certain age. So you're kind of like comparing like, oh, you had kids roughly around this time.
Totally. But
so
it was actually the first time I've had someone just straight up ask me my age and me not also be able to go 34.
Yeah,
I am 34.
Maybe we'll just put it after 10. We're just done.
Okay.
So we'll just
join us.
Yeah, join us
4.
for the next one.
Here's the good news. We're in 4, episode 4.
So we're gonna recap what we talked about last time and finish out how do you rethink, and then some of the tools that we were talking about.
Yeah, and if the last episode didn't leave you like, what? Almost kind of the beginning of the mind blow, right? Where you're like, oh, shoot, I don't know. I hear what you're saying. That space in between. Like if
Well,
you
the first step is the awareness of like, I have a problem.
Oh, man, I have a problem.
And or I need to rethink this.
Yeah. So hopefully the last one didn't leave you hanging so much so. But today we're going to like tie this up in a nice red bow so you can kind of get from A to Z in this rethink process.
And finish it out.
But also please note, when I say get to A to Z, this can sometimes truly take months or years to really walk through this process.
Well, now you just kind of build on it. So it's just,
correct.
one brick at a time of, okay, a new awareness, and then you're adding something to it. And then you're 6 months later, you're like, oh, I'm going to rethink this and add something to it. So it's not just like, I have this awareness. I'm recognizing I want to rethink this and I have a problem, or I need to change this, or how I'm doing it is not working.
Yep.
So, but it evolves.
Yeah.
Just like you do.
Totally. And I think as long as we give ourselves the grace to realize this is not going to happen overnight, and if you are listening to this 34 like I am, right, or almost 40 like Trav, or 50, we have 34 years, 40 years, 50 years of thinking something. So just to think that we're going to rethink it overnight and all of a sudden everything is going to change is just not going to serve us.
Yeah, it's just like working out. I mean, you work out, there's baby steps, and you're not going to go to the gym knowing that you want to lift 100 pounds.
Yes.
You're not going to start out there when you're only at 5 pounds. So there's a progression and a process to develop, the mental muscle. And
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
So to recap real quick.
Let's review. So in the process of rethinking, you first will recognize this isn't working for me anymore. Okay. So now I'm not pretending that it's fine. I'm going, whatever it is, whatever change needs to happen in my life, it's going, I need to change in this area. Okay. The second then is recognizing
any area.
Yeah, any area, whether it's weight, finances,
relationship,
career, whether it's forced upon you or not, right? Like we even talked about this, whether someone comes to you and you lose your job and you weren't planning on it, or you look at yourself in the mirror and you go, I need to lose 50 pounds. This doesn't matter. None of this is happening to you. Remember, it's all happening for us. So it has to be, okay, this part needs to change. Then I need to open up my awareness of going, I have a problem. There is an issue here. I have a problem, whether it's fear, worry, doubt, something emotional, or whether it's literal. I have no money, or I'm overweight, or our marriage is struggling, right?
Yeah.
Here's the problem.
And you can't just take that out. So the awareness,
right?
Let's just say for alcohol, you're an alcoholic.
Yes.
And you drink from 4 o'clock until 10 o'clock.
Yep.
You can't not just stop drinking because you have to fill it with something. So
Right.
it's first the awareness.
Then we create
open space of like, okay, what do I fill my time with, or what do I do?
Before we get there, right? It's opening space to go, okay, this isn't going to be willpower. This has to be God meeting me. This is where I feel like we're building the greatest strength. Because if we shift just into willpower, then I miss the opportunity to create space to let God join me on this journey. Now I'm almost already pulling heaven to earth. Right? Because here's my belief. I believe that the things that we want that are really in us to desire, a healthier marriage, a healthy body, right? The career that we love, it already exists in heaven. It's our job now just to pull it down.
And
right?
it's already in us too.
It's already in us, right? Exactly. So it's like the heaven in me. I've got to create the space to let God meet me halfway to do something that I've never done before. That's the space. Then to your point, I let go. So I'm going to let go of the habits. I'm going to let go of the patterns. I'm going to let go of whatever it is. And now we're in what's called liminal space. And this is kind of where we started to leave it, where it's that trapeze moment that I've let go of the alcohol. I've let go of the bad eating habits. I've let go of my job. I've let go of a relationship that doesn't serve me, or talking to each other in a way that doesn't serve us. I've let go of it. Now what? This is the liminal space. This is where people want to quit.
Fill it with?
Yes.
What do I do with that time, or the resources, whatever it may be within? What's another example?
No,
though?
well, I want to actually back up a minute, because you said something the other day that struck a chord. So let's talk for a minute. Let's just expound on liminal space before we start talking about filling it. So you said it's like that jiu-jitsu, right? You start wrestling with yourself.
No, it's jiu-jitsu of the mind.
Jiu-jitsu of the mind.
Yes.
Okay. So you start wrestling with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Let's unpack that, because that's really what liminal space is. So for those of you listening and are going like, what is liminal space? It's this term that basically describes I've let go of one thing, but I haven't grabbed onto another. And so I'm basically in this hallway of in between, which can feel very lonely. It can feel scary. You can feel isolated. You can kind of feel like you're almost talking to one part of you that's like, don't do this, and then talking to the next part of you that's like, but I want this. And
one of our
students,
one of our team members was talking about that, where you almost feel crazy, like you're walking down the road and you're there, but you're not there, because you're having a conversation in your head.
Yep.
And so, and I remember there's been a
crazy.
few times where it's like, Travis, I feel like you're here, but you're not here. And that's so true, because it's like, I'm just having dialogue in my head. I'm wrestling. I'm having this jiu-jitsu tournament in my mind of like, what was, if I'm stepping into something new, or I want to step into something new, and letting go. I'm like, it's just a battle, because what my truth was, what I thought was,
true, really.
Yeah, my true, or what I saw, whether it's, from family or environment.
Yeah.
And so you're like, it goes against that now.
Yes.
So then I want to step into something new, and you're like,
but that means everything goes against.
Everything changes. So then, like if you, overweight and you want to lose weight, and then all of a sudden you start to tell your family, oh, I'm not eating that, I'm going to lose weight.
Yeah.
And it's happened to us too, where it's, oh, what are the Gentrys eating now? Or, we're doing a cleanse or fast. And it's like, it goes against the norm, because normally if you get to, a big family gathering, you all go over there and you eat the normal stuff.
Yes.
But if you're trying to do something different,
quote,
that you've
unquote,
never
not normal.
done, and you go over there and you're like, oh yeah, I just don't eat that anymore. And it's almost like,
that judgment.
Yeah, judgment comes up, and comparison, and well, why aren't you? Or what are you doing? Or and then you second guess yourself, and evil me pops up, and then the jiu-jitsu match starts. Like, what? Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should just keep doing what I've been doing.
Yes, because then here's what's going to happen in this liminal space. And if you know that this is happening, then it eases the pain of this process, because this is painful. This is hard, right? Just to your point, I remember Travis, I'd always say, babe, you need to get up and go to jiu-jitsu. It's, and it was, what time was it? 5 or 6 a.m. that the class started?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. And I'm like, I'm getting up. I'm going to go do bar or whatever. And he goes, okay, wait a minute. Let me just put this in perspective. You're going to a bar class, which means if you don't want to totally push yourself 100%, there's ways around it. You don't have to sit in that squat quite as long. He's like, when you're doing jiu-jitsu, there is another 200-pound man on top of you trying to
choke you out.
Trying to choke you out. I was like, oh yeah, no, that's fair. But think about this, right? Like, you really start to wrestle with yourself because you haven't yet grabbed onto something new as truth, as competency. You don't feel so confident that when someone goes, why aren't you eating that food? You're like, oh, let me tell you all the reasons why. Let me tell you what it does to my body. Let me tell you how it does.
Yeah, you're like trying it on for size.
I don't even know. I just read it, or my nutritionist told me to, and now that you're giving me that beer with the bread and the cheese, okay, fine, it's comfortable.
But like you said, it's almost that's such a good point, because you don't know everything about it.
No,
so it's like you start
incompetent.
working out and you read something, or you're following a program, P90X or whatever it may be, and you're just following it, but you don't know 100% why. Why am I doing this?
Yes.
Why am I working out this way?
Yep.
Why is he telling me to eat this way?
Yeah.
When should I eat? When I should not eat?
Yep.
So then you can't tell someone exactly, oh yeah, I'm doing this workout because it does this, or I eat this food at this time because it does this.
Yep.
And so when someone asks you, you feel stupid.
Again,
You're like, I don't know, because I'm following this program. Like,
totally. And I feel like at some point in time, when you start to really work and interact with conscious people, you could even say to them when they go, well, why are you doing that? You go, I don't know yet, because I'm consciously incompetent, but give me a month or 60 days, because I'll know why. I just don't know why. I know that I've heard someone tell me that it's good for me, or it's a new truth that I'm clinging onto, but I just haven't grabbed onto it yet. So give me some grace.
Trying it on for size.
Totally. But unfortunately, we don't live in that world, right? So let's just really describe the zone so you know when you're in it. It is the consciously incompetent phase. It is, you can feel isolated. You can feel lonely. Sometimes you can even feel, for me, my experience was like I was floating. I'm here, but I'm not here. Travis has had the experience of a lot of talk and chatter in his head. Mine was almost empty. I didn't know what I thought about anything now, right? Like I went from being so chatter of the brain that then it went to nothing, to where I was like, I don't know what I think about that, right? Like, I don't know what I think about my health. I don't know what I think about my career. I don't know what I would imagine. I don't know. And so mine felt like this, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're in a room quiet all by yourself. It's a little bit darker than it is bright. And you're like, oh shoot. And so that for me is what caused me to want to go back to any familiar hell, is just because it was like, I was so used to the noise in my head that I almost was like, I'd rather the noise and the chatter, because busy. And look, I'm doing, and I'm going. And I look like I'm getting somewhere, but like the hamster on the wheel, I kept going, I'm not getting anywhere though. I'm spinning and I'm burning steam and I'm burning energy, but I'm not getting anywhere over there. I have to sit in the space in between. And what you start to do is you're actually wading the waters of lies to find the truth. And this doesn't always mean...
What do you mean, wading the waters of lies?
Yeah, so this could also not be... Yeah, what was? So let me
not be lies, though.
That's what I'm saying. So it may not be hard, fast lies. It could be just what got you to where you are, which isn't what's going to get you to where you're going to be. So it's a truth that no longer serves the next phase of what you're trying to do, right? It could be the fact that I needed to do a lot of cardio to kind of lose the weight, and now I got to do some weight training to build muscle, right? So it doesn't mean that cardio isn't bad, that it's not a lie. It's just not going to take me to where I need to be.
Yeah.
Or it could be lies, right? It could be lies that I made up about myself. So for me, my limiting beliefs, I am wrong. I am bad. Is that true? No. No human being on the planet is wrong and bad to the core, right? Like, that's the spirit of shame. So for me, I had to wade actual lies that I had carried with me. I am wrong. I am bad. You're going to leave me. All of these things, as well as, oh, that one truth that got me here isn't going to be the truth that takes me forward.
Serve me anymore.
Right. So it could be literal lies, or it could be truths that just no longer serve you. Okay. So this phase is challenging. Yep. And I think your example of the jiu-jitsu of the mind is also a great analogy, because you'll either feel that it'll get hotter, right? Like the wrestle will get stronger, or it's quiet. It's like it's like this dark hallway of
so
quiet.
Then most of the time though, the people that we've interacted with, that's challenging. So then you busy your time. Yes. So you create space and you have a little bit of time, whether it's in the morning or the afternoon, you fill it. I'm going to go do this, or I'm going to go meet with this person, or I'm going to watch a movie, or I'm going to flip through Facebook or whatever it is, as opposed to just sitting and being and hearing your own voice
Yes.
as opposed to looking and seeking outside.
Totally. Okay, so then this is how you start moving through liminal space. Now I have to find this new truth. And I can't do what I've always done, which means, please hear me, we cannot start in this phase being externally seeking. This is not the time to get on YouTube and go, what do they think I should think? This is not the time to get on Instagram and to go, oh, what is my neighbor doing? How are they? This is not the time to start Googling, how do I have a healthier marriage? Googling robots on a computer is not going to give us that answer. It's learning how to connect with yourself, so much so. And this is why I think this part's so awkward, because we start to realize, oh crap, I've never done this.
It gives you ideas, but you already have those ideas based off of knowing you have a problem and knowing that there's a different solution.
Right.
So as you're saying that, though, I have an awareness of, because I tend to do that. I tend to go to YouTube. I tend to Google stuff. But it's, because I've already had an awareness of like, I don't want to keep doing this.
Yep.
I've opened up space. I already know that there's an opposite more than likely.
Yes.
Or a few different options.
Totally.
And so I have to sit with that of like, which one am I going to try first?
Yes.
Which one am I going to move forward with?
Yep.
And not go to, maybe there's more options.
Totally.
And that's when you get confused and then
Yes.
you don't do anything.
Totally. Well, I was just talking to someone this morning and she said, the problem is now I just feel like there's too many things to look at. And I go, well, why are you saying that? Why are you saying there's too many options? And she's like, well, because my sister does this and then my friends are doing that. And then, I was talking to someone the other day that's doing this and I was like, okay, hold up. You're already in comparison.
Confusion.
You're already in comparison. Yeah. Here is we already talked about this, but the creation to comparison. So in this phase, this is all I'm suggesting is first you have to find your truth, your God-given truth, that even if it takes a week or a month to hear what it is on the inside of you. That's the knowing. That's the God in us that's already gone. And it sounds as simple as, okay, here's been my reality. Check, this is what you're literally going to do in this space. Here's been my reality, okay? I have this much in the bank. My marriage looks like this. My finances look like this. My career looks like this. Whatever it is, look at it for what it is. Then you start to go, what do I imagine here? Not the intellect. Your heart goes, what do I imagine? And this is honestly what it starts to sound like. I want to connect with my husband. Connect. Write the word down, connect. Okay? Then it'll say, I want to work at a job or a career that I'm like passionate about it. Write down the word passion. I, with my body, want to feel vital energy. Write down the word vital. Here's why. Because then we have to go, what does it mean to me to live vital energy? What does it mean to me to have a connected relationship? Because Travis and I right now, if I said, give me the definition of a connected marriage, you may say it'd be A, B, and C. And I'd go, oh, that's interesting. For me, connection would look like X, Y, and Z. Now we have to go, great. How do we make sure that your A, B, and C and my X, Y, and Z allows us to connect? Right? So now these words are important, but not just the word. It's what do you say that word is? So what does passion mean to you? What does that actually mean? And now we're starting to go, okay, I'm starting to create new truths that go, okay, then if I want vital energy, and vital energy means sustainable. I don't want highs and I don't want lows. Let's just walk this out for a minute. Vital energy means I don't want highs and lows. I just really want sustainable energy. Now we go, okay, how do I do this? Pick up YouTube. Right? Pick up YouTube and go, how do I create sustainable energy? Then we're going to get some options. Intermittent fasting, vegan, and Whole30. Right? Now we go, all right, why don't I try one for 90 days? Pick which one like resonates, feels like it's the path of least resistance, but it's going to give me what I want, right? Don't make it so hard that you're like, I'm going to quit, right? Well, I didn't start with intermittent fasting right away because that felt hard to me. So you just slowly move into them, right? Which
is so interesting because when I heard about intermittent fasting, and a huge, tool resource is Thomas DeLauer.
Yes.
He has a YouTube channel. I would highly recommend his stuff. Once I heard it, I was like, oh, that makes sense. And not realizing that you kind of wean yourself into it. I did intermittent fasting every day for like 7 days. And I was like, it started down that path, and then reading more about it and listening to him more. He, talks about sometimes you can get dizzy or lightheaded and stuff because your body's not acclimating to it. So I think sometimes for me, how I operate, not getting as deep and, writing down words and knowing that I already have an awareness.
Yes.
And I know that I'm going to step into this liminal space. and I already know sometimes the answer.
Yeah.
Like I already know that first step.
Because you've already been wrestling with it.
Yeah, because I've already been wrestling
Yeah.
with it. So it's like, it's not really liminal space for me because I know I need to stop doing this and start doing this.
Yeah, like you already have the answer. You've just been wrestling with that, like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So
yeah.
It's like jump.
So jump and practice that new muscle. And it, you know, sometimes you go back and then, you know, you evaluate the day or the week and say, you know, okay, I did go back to it. But at some point it doesn't feel good.
Yes.
Mentally, physically, it doesn't sit good with your body. You're like, I didn't show up the way I know I want to show up now and who I want to be.
Yes. And so this is why I encourage to writing something down because, and I'm kind of talking about this through the lens of someone that's like, I literally don't know how yet. Like I wouldn't know how to create passion in my career because I've never had that. I wouldn't know how to have vital energy because I haven't had that. So if we get to that point and you write down, I want vital energy, write it down. Even the Bible says, write the vision, make it clear as day, and then hold on to it. And there's a reason it says this, okay? So I'm going to write down vital energy. I'm going to write down connection in my marriage. I'm going to write down passion in my career. Then I'm going to define a little bit, what does that mean? Vital, sustainable, passion is people I love, right? Which again, it could be the art I love, the people I love, the cause I love, okay? What does that mean? Then you're going to go, okay, where would I find that? That's when I say, now grab people that have fruit in their life. We talk about this a lot. Don't go to someone who's not healthy and does not have sustainable energy and ask them how to do this. Because even though they might have good opinions, they don't have the fruit in their life.
And I think you could even look inside, even at that point, depending, you know, vital energy. What do I eat throughout the day? Do I smoke? Do I get outside and go on a walk and get fresh air? I think there's a few steps that you can like eliminate right away before you even start to like go faster, you know, and seek outside. It's going within of like, okay, I know smoking doesn't give me vital energy. I know that when I eat sugar, I have this sugar high and then it drops. That doesn't make me feel good. So it's like just starting to say, okay, I'm going to, you know, I smoke a pack a day, I'm going to smoke a half a pack. And then start to wean off of that, or sugar, or I need to go outside and get fresh air when it's summertime as opposed to just sitting in all day long and feeling, you know, frustrated that I don't get to. It's like start to practicing a few little habits that you're kind of, if you sat with yourself, you would know.
You totally. And again, so to the point, this is like why I don't think we do, because then it's like the truth will set you free. You said this last time before, but it's going to piss you off at first, right? Because then you're going to have to look at going, oh, that means I have to stop the cheese. I can't have my cigarettes. I actually have to sweat, right? And all of a sudden the ego is going to go, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. But here's what you have to keep listening to. Again, do I want to keep getting the same results I'm getting? Or do I want to move in a direction of actual vital energy? Right?
Which
like,
you just,
am I more motivated by the pleasure, or am I sick enough of the pain, or both, right? Like, am I sick of the results that I'm getting to the point that I'm going to change? And do I want this change? Do I want vital energy? Do I want connection? Do I want passion in my career? Enough to where I'm going to sit in these hard moments. I'm going to create small changes because we're looking for sustainability here. We're not looking to sprint our way to change. It won't last, right? It won't last.
Yeah. You just made a comment as far as like, I can't have that, as opposed to like, I get to not have that.
Exactly.
So you know, we were even talking with Malachi, our oldest, where, you know, we homeschool, and that was kind of the path that we were going to be on, you know, from the beginning of figuring it out, and we're still figuring it out. And, you know, he struggles sometimes. He loves learning certain things, but there's certain things, basic stuff he has to learn, writing and math. And so it's just flipping the words for him to help him to understand, like, this is the foundation, and you get to learn.
I get to learn.
You don't have to learn. You get to learn this. So then when you want to learn the stuff that you really want and that brings you joy, you have the foundation for
Totally. And I think that this is why you kind of know, am I working in my head and in my ego, or in my heart where I really need to be? And I know that sometimes this can sound a little bit cheesy, like, oh, just live from your heart. I mean this, like, this stuff is not for the faint of heart. These are people who know the power that comes from within them. So your head will sound like, oh, I can't have this, I can't do this, because what it's wired for is what you had, Well, then I can't have sugar of the past. Well, then I can't do that of the past. Well, then I won't be able to this, that. This chatter is all referencing things of the past that it can control, that it can manage, that it can handle, that it can hold, that it can has certainty. Fair, right? Our brains don't not listen to your brain. It's keeping you in check and keeping you alive, but it won't take you to where you've never been.
Yeah.
The heart's going to do that, which sounds like I get to do this. I get to pursue vital energy. I get to have connection in my marriage, which means I get to have this, what do we call it? Our intense fellowship, right? I get to do this with you because I believe that when we rumble a little bit and we have intense fellowship, that our goal is connection.
And growth.
Right. So
better understanding.
Connection and growth has to have tension. We've got to have a little bit of pressure because then what I have found that we've practiced so hard in our marriage is, and you've taught me in this because I was always afraid if I say the wrong thing, you're going to leave me, right? If I do the wrong thing, you're going to leave me. And so I was so afraid to have this a little bit of tension or even some conflict a little bit because I was like, he's going to bounce, right? But what you've taught me in the marriage is speak true. Tell me what you're really thinking. Tell me what you're really feeling so we can actually get to a place of more growth and connection. And you were the first that showed me you're not going anywhere.
But it was also what you've seen modeled by me.
Yeah.
By me, though.
Totally.
Because I can bounce. I have bounced on situations and people.
Totally.
And so you've seen that.
I've seen that.
So unless you have conversations to seek to understand, that could be very viable of an option that I have done in the past.
Let's walk this out. Because not only did I see that with my parents, right? When they got divorced, I was like, ooh, someone did something wrong and it just created separation. So I saw that. Then I remember Trav going, in high school, I remember getting in a fight with my friend. And so I never talked to him again. I changed my phone number and never talked to him again. I was like, oh, crap. Okay.
There's way more to the story than that. But
right?
yeah.
But you're like, I'm out. If I'm done, I'm done. And so I think right now that you're saying that, there was probably these subliminal messages that was already layered on top of my say the right thing.
And that could be a totally another podcast because it was almost, I was seeking something else, but not knowing because I didn't have the tools that I have today to do it in the right way.
Yeah, confront it.
It was like, I know this relationship or this person or hanging out with this person does not serve me because what we do when we're together is not who I am and who I want to be.
Totally.
So then I just disconnect it as opposed to communicating and saying, hey, I would love to hang out with you, but I don't want to keep doing this.
Yes.
And so it was I just wasn't equipped.
Totally.
And I've done that a few times and now it's just communicating. And then at a certain point, those people are probably going to be moved out as far as the time circle that you spend with them. And that's okay, but it's a way better way to handle it than just like, I'm done.
For sure. And this is, I think, for all of us, there's so many things we could look back at and go, oh man, if I had been equipped, fair. Right? I love that quote that says, you know better, do better. Right? So I think we could all look back, I believe we're all doing the best that we can, and it should be our aim to be gaining awareness and growth, right? And because the minute that you're aware and you're growing, then you know better, now you can do better, right? Like pay it forward, be better at that whole process.
Yep.
So if we bring it back and we walk someone through this again. So now I'm aware, I create space to realize that someone bigger, that God's going to meet me in between to help me through this. I let go then of whatever the habits, patterns, beliefs, thoughts, even truths, right, that aren't going to serve me moving forward. I'm in the liminal space. I'm in the in-between. Now I have to start finding my truth. To your point, if I just take something away of let's use the alcoholic. If I drink every day from 5 to 10, that's 5 hours a day. That's a lot of time. Then if I just take that away but don't fill it with anything, I'm going to go back because that for too long, right, leaves room for havoc, right? Like it's empty. It's not supposed to be empty. We're not supposed to take everything out of our house and then live in an empty house. You know what I'm saying? Like take all the old stuff out of it and look around and go, okay, this is a beautiful house. Right? This is the life that I want. This is now what I can imagine, what I can see. I walk myself through, okay, I want vital energy, I want passion, I want connection, right? Like get even a couple key words. Then we got to fill the house back up so you're not living in just an empty house. You have to grab onto new truths.
Yeah.
We have to grab onto something that can replace the old and fill that space. So even to the point of if I drank every day from 5 to 10, now maybe I go on a run, maybe I do meditation, maybe I go hang with a girlfriend, maybe I take a class, right? Like I have to fill it with something and start that path. Doesn't mean that all of a sudden, boom, it's easy. I'm not going to want that old stuff.
Yeah.
There's still that process,
Yeah.
but at least I'm looking forward at the new truth, at something that's going to give me the results that I want most. And given enough time of practicing that, all of a sudden I go from consciously incompetent, y'all, to consciously competent. Now I don't feel stupid. I don't feel alone. I feel competent, right? I'm not multitasking. I'm not like unconscious about my competency, but I feel like, okay, I know how to do this now. I know how to cook a healthy meal. I know I'm starting a new career that like, okay, I'm starting to get it. You and I are connecting. We're having conversations in a relationship that's making us better. I'm starting to see the weight fall off, right? Like I'm gaining competency in what I'm doing.
Yeah. And we've seen this quite a few times with like career and having a job.
Yep.
More specifically, probably having a job and either wanting to step into entrepreneur and owning your own business, or just transitioning from a job. And I think it's just, to me, it's understand, like in that context, it's just taking ownership of it too.
Yep.
So whether it's alcohol, and we've talked about that as far as like, okay, like I've just got to take ownership of whatever that is.
Yes.
So if I have a job and that I hate it and it served me
Yep.
to a certain point,
Yep.
and I make a certain amount of money, because we hear that a lot too, of like, well, I have a family, I have a mortgage, I have a car. Well, now we have to like back it up a little bit.
Yep.
What can I get rid of to
Yep.
allow me to be able to step into it? And don't be the victim,
Totally.
because you got the degree, you filled out the application,
Yep.
you did the interview, you accepted the job, and you've had it for a certain amount of time.
Yep.
And it could have been a huge blessing, and
Yep.
it served a purpose to a point. And now you wake up one day and you're like, I can't keep doing this.
Yes.
I need to do something else. Well, now
Yep.
it's the same practice of doing that. Okay, now I know this doesn't serve me. I can't necessarily just quit unless I saved up a bunch of money.
Yep.
But now dream.
Yes.
Like open up the possibilities inside.
Yes.
And sometimes, Google and stuff, there's so many options
Yep.
to be an entrepreneur now.
Yes.
The tools and resources and the platforms, it's amazing
Yep.
how people make money.
Totally.
And so it's going on that maybe you have to get some new thoughts because you've had a job for 30 years or
Yep.
20 years and you're like, this is all I've known.
Yes.
And so now you kind of Google or you talk to some different people or go to meetup groups or whatever that is entrepreneur based, get some new ideas, but ultimately sit within.
Yeah. Go back and kind of rinse and repeat that process.
Yeah, understand. Okay, what gifts and talents do I have? We were watching a video and it hit me. There's a gentleman on YouTube that our son watches that draws.
Yeah.
And
Art Hub.
Highly recommend it for kids. Super cool. So he sits there and draws, and he has another kid by his side, and they basically go through the whole process of how to draw whatever it is. I mean, he's got hundreds or thousands of videos now.
And it's funny because Malachi will go, ask this, and I was like, he probably is not going to have that. There's not been one thing.
Yeah,
that
from
Malachi
animals
has
to cartoon characters.
Pikachu.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. And it's so, and I was watching, I was like, man, that is so cool that he gets to do what he loves to do.
Yep.
He draws and shows other people how to do it.
And he's got millions of subscribers.
Yeah, and I'm sure,
it's cool.
It's really cool. But there's so many ways to make money now.
Yep.
Just utilizing your skills and talents.
Yep.
And maybe you had one that you dropped it and you stopped dreaming and you're like, no, I got to get a job and got to make money and grind it out and I'll retire and then I'll start doing that again.
Yeah.
Whether it's fly fishing or golf or whatever it may be, there's probably a niche within that that you could serve other people to make money and and be way happier than you are.
Yes.
Currently.
Yep. And so let's be strategic about this, right? So for those of you who maybe have an inkling, right? Like I have a career, but I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, or let's just do the career, stick with that, right? Or I want to transition and I want to be in this industry, or, I've been doing, more clerical stuff, but I really want to be in sales, right? So the next strategic thing that you could do is you need to find, and I believe that all of us can do a certain amount on our own, but to your point, if your dreams if you can do it all, it's not big enough, right?
Yeah.
It's not real enough. So there's something to be said about finding someone who has the fruit in their life that you want, and going and asking them, like, what was your mindset around this? Don't even just ask them, like, what did you do? Because the way that they got there could look different, right?
Yeah.
But what was your mindset that helped you become an entrepreneur? What was the mindset that helped you go from being an admin to now being the sales manager or being a general manager? Or like, what was it that you did that got you from where you were to where you are? Don't go back to the old group of friends that knew you as a certain way, because they're going to have biases. They can't help it. We have biases. I knew you as X, and now you're telling me you want A, but all I know typically unconsciously how to answer any of these questions is a biased approach, right?
Yeah.
Or fear of like, oh, look, if you go out and step out for your family's sake, like, are you gonna be able to pay your bills? Like, that's fine, right? But that's a survival-based answer. And where we're trying to get you is from survival to thriving. Yeah. Right? So if I just go and ask someone who has, and again, this is not in judgment, but if I'm asking someone who's just surviving how they're doing what they're doing in their life, I'm going to get survival-based answers. Yeah. So I would encourage, find someone who has the fruit, the results in this area of their life, and say, tell me more.
Yeah, and
you have a thriving marriage, tell me more.
And I've seen it in the past in real estate, where sometimes you seek out the answer that you want, even though you know it goes against. So you go to people that don't have the fruit in their life, and you go to them to confirm, so you don't have to step up and step out.
Okay, so that's real. Okay. This has to be a self-check, right? Like if you're going to go ask people that are going to confirm your old bias, it's impossible, can't happen. You're going to put your family in harm's way.
And then you're like, yep, I knew it.
Right.
Yep, I'll just stay doing that. So you have to seek people out.
Don't confirm an old bias.
Yeah, you spend, people that go to college spend tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars for a degree, and you get a job and you go through that, and then at one point there's quite a few people that I forget the stat that we were talking about, but 70% or so just go to work. They don't love it. It's just a paycheck. They're going to put in their time, as opposed to like, I may have to pay a mentor. I'm 30 some years old and I'm going to go hire a mentor. And that's goes against what you've been living for the last 15 years, because all the school system is mentors. They're teachers. So you go to a class, you have to be there at a certain time, and you get a degree for that. So same thing with now entrepreneur. There's videos and YouTubes and classes and workshops and different ways, or you can go serve someone too. Find someone that's doing what you want and go say, how can I serve you? I like what you do. I love the industry. I want to be in that industry. Let's talk real estate. Go serve them. Go do something for free. One, to see, maybe you don't like it. It looks nice from the outside and you're like, oh, I want to do that, because you see maybe the fruit in their life. They have nice house and cars and time or whatever. But then you get into it and you're like, I don't like that at all.
Which is a huge point. So let's make sure that this is clear. That's basically saying, I like what's in your hand, but I don't want what's in your heart. I like the result, but I don't want the journey. So you've got to make sure that you can understand some of the journey, right? Because the journey, there should be the joy in the journey, but you got to make sure that you like the day in and the day out of that journey, and not just the result. You've got to like the journey. We could do 5 podcasts on that one. But I think you're giving a good point. So which even means if I have to hire a coach or a mentor, this is why I love the concept of money, is wherever I put my money, right, it'll have my heart. So if I'm willing to put my money somewhere and go, I'm going to invest in this, now my heart will follow of going, okay, the money doesn't have me, but if I'm going to put my money there, now I'm going to go, my heart's going to go, okay, I'm in. I'm in, because it's important to me. So much so that I'm going to put my money, a resource, my time and my money, in the place of that and go, now I'm in.
Yeah, and there's ways to even do it without money. I mean, that's, if you want to do an internship, go work for free, or nights and weekends, or, take someone out to lunch a few different times, and you can really understand, okay, the pros and cons. And that's why it's like being so self-aware of yourself, understanding your, what you've put on your, as far as limitations, limiting beliefs, and what you saw and your environment and everything. You're going to have a lot of new awarenesses as you start to step out, But the only way to grow
Yep.
and to gain new perspective is to put yourself in those uncomfortable situations.
Totally.
Where you could feel inadequate
Yep.
or stupid or
Yes.
ashamed or fear.
Yep.
You
Yep.
have to step into those to understand, like, yes, I want to keep pursuing it. And I'm okay looking
Awkward.
stupid
Yes.
and stupid.
Yes.
Yeah, like
Totally.
I'm okay with that because I know that it's just part of the journey
Yes.
to get what I really want.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it can be that really trite statement of like everything you ever want is on the outside of your comfort zone. And that's true. But let me just help you with this. You're going from unconscious incompetency to conscious incompetency to conscious competency to unconscious competency, which basically means
so deep.
now I know, right, when I'm in that phase, now
Yeah.
I know, oh, this is part of the process. If I
Yeah.
know it's part of the process, it's normal. That's why we're spending 2 podcasts talking about this. Because if I know that I just went from not knowing that I didn't know to now knowing that I don't know to now knowing what to do about what I didn't know to now like I don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I started my whole health and nutrition journey, got that first meeting with Sarah, love her to death. With Food Beautiful. She is a godsend. I remember that first meeting that I looked at everything she said and she's like, does that make sense? And I was like, nope. She's like, are you going to do any of it? I was like, nope. And I sat with it, right? And then it was one piece and then it was another. And then now you fast forward 8 years and I don't have to consciously give thought to what I eat or what I drink or why I do it because I've been doing it for so long. But it's been 8 years of this journey. Right? So the biggest encouragement is yes, everything that you're dreaming of does lie on the outside of the comfort zone that you're currently in. That is true. Mm-hmm. Now, if you can learn to go through that process of getting aware, then grabbing onto God, right? Then sitting in the liminal space, getting to reconnect with yourself, wrestling with it a little bit, finding new truths that are going to actually take you to where you want to be, then grabbing onto them and starting to act like it. Before, that's the final piece what we can end with, is I'm going to act like I have vital energy before I have it. Which means if I have vital energy, what food would I eat? What would I do today? Right? If I have connection in my marriage, how would I have this conversation with my husband? If I am in a career that I'm passionate about, what would I do today? How would I do this? And so what you're starting to do is you're starting to think like it, which means you're going to act like it. Then you act like it, which means I'm going to automatically start to think like it. And now in theory, all the things that we're suggesting, like find someone who has the results, do a Google search that gets you that answer, whatever it is, it starts to become a little bit easier because you're acting your way to thinking and thinking your way to acting.
Yeah, and I think we said it in the last podcast, but it's the how-tos are out there.
Yep.
So you have to understand at a deeper level who you are, why are you here,
Yep.
what are you going to do about it? The thoughts and desires that are coming up for you,
Yep.
they are possible.
Yes.
Those are what we would call, your purpose, your vision.
Yep.
And you have to rethink. You
Yes.
have to do something differently because your thoughts got you to that point,
Yep.
which will not get you to where you want to be.
Yes.
And it's almost like, I was thinking when you were saying that, it's almost like if I wanted to, really get into mountain biking.
Yep.
And I could go buy the nicest bike.
Yep.
I can go buy all the equipment, but I'm not going to ride like I am in a year or 2 years or 3 years.
Totally.
So it's almost like you have to take a few steps forward.
Yes.
And sometimes the external does not match your internal and vice
Totally.
versa.
Yes. And that's, I think, the hard part, right? Because we're starting to build externally before internally, which is why we don't sustain it. So it's believing that the things that are on the inside of you are going to be stronger so that the external is just a byproduct.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's when the match comes up,
Yep.
the jiu-jitsu match of like, I'm going to be, downhill mountain biker and I'm going to do this and I buy all the sweet gear.
And then you get on the
and
bike
then I
and
get on the
fall
bike
off.
and you fall off and you break your arm and you get hurt and all that. And you're like, it just doesn't align yet. And so I think it's
Hashtag yet.
not yet. And so it's just practicing, that new habit and understanding that, yes,
Yeah.
on the outside, it may start to look like something.
Yes.
But on the inside, you have to give yourself grace
Yep.
because it is going to be, you're basically strengthening your mental muscle. And you have to understand that it is going to take a while to catch up, because if you're 30, 40, 50, you've been practicing subconsciously something for so long.
Totally.
And so just to shift it, there's not going to be alignment.
Yeah, totally. So if you're listening today and you're like, I'm ready, I am ready for to create change in this area, we encourage you to grab one or two areas. Don't do all of them at one time, especially if you're newer to this process and newer to gaining this level of awareness. Pick one or two areas that you feel like, I really want change, enough to where I go, I hate it. I hate the results that I'm getting. I don't want them anymore. And I want something new enough. And then walk through this process, right? Let yourself kind of write it all out. Listen to this podcast a couple of times if you have to. Write it all out and then start taking just one step every day. Do one thing, right? Do 5 minutes of meditation, then do 10, right? Make one phone call, then make 2, right? Go walk around the block, then walk a mile, then run a mile, right? Like take just one step every day and remind yourself that you are moving towards a new way of thinking until all of a sudden it becomes unconsciously competent. But please, for your sake, for your dream's sake, for the world that's waiting for you, we encourage you, we challenge you, we're here to support you, and we believe that when you start this journey of rethinking, oh man, you'll never go back.
Yeah, and that's what this whole podcast is about. You know, our journey, and we're constantly doing it. We're in the midst of it. We don't have everything figured out. You know, and we're going to talk about money. We're going to talk about relationship. We're going to talk about raising kids. And we're going to talk about career and entrepreneurship and all the things that we've learned. And as we come up with new awarenesses and new thoughts, we're going to share them and you know, be open and vulnerable of like, here's how I thought and here's what I did and here's what we're doing. So watch this podcast, listen to this podcast, because hopefully it'll plant seeds and it'll start to, one or two things will pop out and you're like, oh yeah, I do this, or maybe I can change this. And then it's just, it's kind of like an adventure. Like it's exciting of like, okay, I do this. Am I getting the results that are great results? And if not, then what could I do to get great results, not just okay results?
And if you're sitting there still and going, I don't even know what I'm thinking, I don't know if they're the wrong thoughts, we're on our next podcast, we are going to be talking about a couple of the things that you're finding yourself saying that you didn't know was actually keeping you from your dreams. We're going to unpack a handful of the things that you didn't know were keeping you from your dreams.
Your words matter.
Your words matter. Until next time.
Thanks.
On behalf of both of us, thank you for listening to another episode of Dream On. Don't forget to visit our website, The Dream Factory & Co., for all the show notes and other tools and resources to get you unstuck, clear, and helping you reprogram your thoughts and beliefs so that you can live out your dreams with a community that supports and challenges you. Until next time, dream on.